This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to cover some common things that homeowners do that kind of put stumbling blocks in the way of pool service. And these are things you're going to run into when you service pools out there. And they can be a little frustrating and irritating. And they're very common and something you have to deal with on a week-to-week basis. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. This first one is one that's pretty problematic in my area, at least. It's something that happens in the summer where the customer doesn't really want to add water to their pool. They feel like they're wasting water or they're adding too much water to the pool. So they'll let the water get really low in the pool, even to where the skimmer may not be activated. And you can talk to the customer and, of course, let them know that there's a certain water level that's necessary. I usually tell them that it should be halfway up the skimmer opening, or if there's tile in the pool where the water line's in between the grout line of the two tiles, then I always tell them it should be in the middle of the grout line of the tiles. And a lot of times they just will neglect adding water to the pool. This causes lots of problems with the pool. It could run dry. It could run out of water where the pump's not pulling water and then the pool's not circulating. This is probably the #1 problem that happens out there. Now, there are some built-in safety mechanisms with the newer pools. There's something called the float diverter valve in the skimmer. I call it the UFO device, just like a UFO. And basically, this will allow, if the skimmer runs out of water, or the water gets too low, I should say, it'll actually convert the suction to the main drain of the pool, and then it'll pull the water from the main drain. But a lot of pools don't have this, the older pools, so basically the pool's just going to run dry and causing lots of problems with algae, poor water quality. So what I like to tell the customer, and this is the truth here, and this is not just a scare tactic, that by letting the pool water get that low, letting the pump suck air, you're causing damage to the equipment. Eventually it's going to burn out the motor, cause plumbing leaks, and it's going to be much more expensive to fix these things than it would be to add water. I also let them know that the irrigation uses more water than the pool, and running the sprinklers probably uses more water than filling the pool up each week. Maybe a couple of showers is the amount of water that you're actually putting in the pool during the summer when it's evaporating. Of course, other areas like Arizona and Texas, that may vary. There may be more water that you're adding to the pool in the high desert area here. But generally speaking, it's not really a lot of water that you have to add to the pool, and it does help maintain the pool circulation. So whichever method you want to use to convince the customer to add water, go with that method. Sometimes I'll even go as far as getting what's called the pool sentry, and this is something that goes on the pool deck. You attach a garden hose to it, and this will add water to the pool itself, or by itself. It acts like a autofill that's not really built in. So a lot of pools that don't have autofills have this problem, I should say. If the pool has an autofill, technically the autofill will be on, filling the pool up, and it's not a problem. But not every pool has an autofill, and so you're going to run into the low water problem a lot. I wouldn't advise you to fill the pool when you're there at the stop, because chances are you're going to forget and you're going to leave the water running, and it's going to cause a lot of liability. Even if you put your car keys or your truck keys on the fill line, I've taken them off of there myself. I had to get something out of my truck. I'll take it off, forget to put it back on there. And so that's not a bulletproof 100%. You're filling the pool up, put the truck keys there. You're not going to leave without turning off the water sometimes you'll even be driving, 2 hours later and you're like, did I turn the water off at that pool? So it does cause more trouble than it's worth. Just have the customer fill it. Explain to them that, if you have to shock the pool because of algae or put an algicide in, they're going to have to pay for that. And all this can be prevented by just them filling the pool water to the acceptable level that it needs to be at and keeping it there week in and week out. I'll address this one here. This is common in my area as well, where dogs are using the pool or they're making a mess around the pool area. Now, a lot of landscapers will make sure the customer picks up all the dog waste before they cut the grass. And so there's like a standing rule that if the customer doesn't pick up the dog waste on the lawn, they don't cut it. And a lot of times they're really diligent about making sure that they pick everything up on the grass, but they don't do a lot of scooping or poop scooping around the pool deck area. And a lot of dogs will use the pool deck area to go to the bathroom. So invariably, you may step in something and then you're hosing off your shoe and it's a big mess. So I always let the customers know that, my service day is a Wednesday. I'd appreciate it if, I'm able to access the pool without stepping on any dog waste, because what happens is I'll step on it and I'll walk around the deck and spread it everywhere. And it could become hazardous to have that all over the deck. So they can make sure that's clean before I get there. It's really important as you're walking to the pool that it's clean as well. Sometimes you have to cross grass and you have to just kind of dodge it. It's really one of the irritants of pool service, when you have dog waste everywhere. And then, of course, the dogs using the pool is the other irritant. Now, I understand that people love their dogs and they want their dogs to stay cool in the summer, and that's perfectly fine if the dog uses the pool. But on the other end of it, the customer has to know that it's going to cost more money for them to maintain that pool because of the dogs using the water. You're going to have the chlorine level at a higher level. You're going to have to put a chlorine enhancer in there like a Polar-X or borates or phosphated enzymes on a regular basis. Especially enzymes, I would highly recommend getting a bottle of enzyme and keeping it there and using that every week to keep the scum line from building up on the pool tile. But it's also going to require more filter cleanings, more maintenance. So all this is going to add to a higher service charge for the customer. You can't treat a dog pool just like a regular pool because you would lose money on it. You're using more chemicals. It's causing a lot more of your time and effort. And you really can't clean it 100% either. There's been so many times where I clean the pool, get it all vacuumed up, and then the dog gets in there with dirty paws, with dirt on it right away. And that's kind of the good thing about it, is the customers aren't expecting the pool to look crystal clear. The bad thing, you can't really keep it crystal clear anywhere with the dog swimming in the pool. So it's one of those double-edged swords where the pool is going to suffer because the dogs are using the pool, and the customer can't expect too much of you as the pool service provider in keeping it 100% clean and looking blue. You just have to fight this battle, and it's a battle that's often fought, and it's something that, of course, the customer needs to be aware of. Again, the extra cost and time incurred with having the dogs using the pool. Another problem we have here is ducks in the pool, and customers will actually feed the ducks, and they think they're cute, but after a few days, it's not cute anymore, and it just gets really bad. The pool deteriorates rapidly. So the ducks aren't necessarily the customer's problem or fault, but if they start feeding them, the ducks are going to, of course, come back. And if they don't want to be proactive about it, that's a problem. So I always tell the customer that your pool is going to look like a pond within a week or two with the ducks here. Plus, it's not healthy with all the duck waste going into the pool, and then the filter has to be clean. So what I would advise is that the customer be very proactive with ducks in their pool. A lot of things don't work, like the sprinklers or the timers that will have the sprinkler come on and shoot water out. If not a sprinkler, but the garden hose. So I've had this happen before, where a customer put a garden hose on this timer and it was on a motion sensor. And this is supposed to scare the duck away, but all it did was get me wet and give me a heart attack, basically. So those don't work. So the automatic garden hose motion sensors don't scare ducks away. They don't mind the water. Dogs aren't going to scare them away. I had a customer that had hunting dogs. They're like, oh yeah, well, they'll make sure the ducks don't get in the pool. Very ineffective. The ducks has more stamina than these dogs do. The dog would run around one side of the pool. Duck would get out. Then it would get in the pool, and the dog was on the other side of the pool. And eventually the dog got just tired and gave up at that point. You don't want to set any kind of traps or any kind of wires that could harm the ducks. They're protected here in California, maybe other states as well. The best advice is to put floaters in the pool. I like the alligator ones. You could put a swan floater in. They don't really like these things. If the floaters fail, the next level escalation are the floating pond orbs. You can go on Amazon. They're called pond orbs, ORB, and these are stainless steel balls basically that are 10 or 12 inches in diameter, and you put them in the pool and they float around, and the reflection, the ducks don't like the reflection when they see it, and then will land in the water. So floats really work effectively in some cases. If those fail, I would go to the next level and put these pond orbs in the pool, and this will keep the ducks from returning and really messing up the pool. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. Here's some common ones. I'll just lump them all together as one kind of irritant, and that's not having clear access to the pool. Now, a lot of the pool pros use riptides out there with the cart. Sometimes the customer will park in their driveway and kind of block access to the backyard. Slightly annoying. The bottom feeder, of course, you just carry it back there between the cars, not a problem. But there are times when the customer will block your access to the back with your cart. You can simply let the customer know that your service day is a Thursday, and if they can leave access to the backyard for the cart, that'd be great. Other times, when you open up the gate, there's so much junk right there that you can't get back there with your equipment. I had a customer that was a hoarder. His garage was full. The side of the yard was full. I'm not sure what his profession was, but a lot of it looked like accounting documents everywhere. I kind of literally had to walk over boxes to get to the pool in the backyard. Not really pleasant. So make sure you have access to the pool without having to get past bicycles and climb over boxes, and, you don't want to scratch someone's car with your cart, so make sure you have plenty of access area. And you could just maybe mention that to the customer that you don't want to damage their vehicle, so they could please move it further back in the driveway in your service day. You'd appreciate it when you get back there. But having access is a problem, and there's a few customers that are really paranoid that don't want to give you a key or the gate code, and so they have to make sure they unlock the gate for you when you're there. Sometimes they'll forget. So in that situation, what I normally do is text the customer and say, oh, if you forgot to unlock the gate, I'll come back around later and do your pool if you can unlock it. But this is just a courtesy the first time. The next time this happens, I'll have to unfortunately either skip your pool or charge you a service charge for returning later because it's kind of out of my way. And typically they'll be okay with that. A lot of times they'll just tell you to skip the pool next time if it's locked and you forget to unlock it, which, usually you're okay with that. The chemicals can hold up most of the time. So in a case like that, you always want to be cautious and make sure the pool has a good chlorine level, or if it has a saltwater generator that's working properly. But that does happen where the customer just doesn't want to give you access unless they're there to unlock the gate. And a little annoying, but I understand that people are just a little bit paranoid about it. It's understandable in this day and age. The other thing that you have to also kind of inform the customer and teach them is that even if you can get to the pool and it's unobstructed, you're able to walk back there, but the pool itself is full of toys and floats and everything in there. It's kind of obstructing your job right there at that point, because now you have to go around the pool and take all the floats out. Usually there's bees and leaves that are there. They fall down and making the pool messy. Sometimes the noodles will sucked into the skimmer, and the pool won't be operating for that week, and so the pool looks really messy. So I like to inform the customers that after the kids use all their toys, to put them aside, get them out of the pool, because there's a twofold problem here. Number one, of course, it could interfere with the equipment, with the pool running, with the circulation, causing algae. The second thing is that having all these toys in the pool, if they have young children, is kind of a lure to the pool. And, kids may wander over there to get some toys or look at the toys or get them out of the pool, and they may fall in. So they're actually a big drowning hazard, leaving, floats and toys and noodles in the pool. So it's best to remove them to avoid that. and it also will allow the pool to operate properly. So I always kind of emphasize the second point, that it is a hazard to have these things in the pool. And if a child falls in there, you really can't see them because you have so much junk in the pool. And it's really a danger to the children that could fall in there or could be reaching for a toy. So that's all that always gets their attention, and they always are like very proactive about moving all the toys out of the pool when they're done. And I also tell them not to leave any toys on the bottom of the pool. In the summertime, this is where you get your tips, quarters, dimes, I guess no longer pennies are in the bottom of the pool. And you can scoop them out with your leaf rake. And it's a skill to get these out of the pool, by the way, with a leaf rake. And, I usually just keep the change in my pocket, because if I leave it on the pool deck, the following week they'll be back in there. And then I have to spend more time getting it out. So I'll just take it and, take it as a tip from the customer or from the kids that are using it to dive to get the coins. But any kind of object left in the pool doesn't interfere with the automatic cleaner, especially those little missiles that are on the bottom. Suction side cleaners like to suck them up, and that stops the cleaner. So I let the customer know as well that if they have any kind of diving toys, rings, rockets, coins, that's going to clog up the cleaner and cause it not to run properly, and it could damage the cleaner. So they're usually pretty proactive as well. There's been a few times where I've gotten to the pool where there's like Hot Wheels on the bottom or super soaker guns, and the screws in those actually stain the bottom of the pool. So I also let the customer know that, some toys may actually stain the bottom of the pool. So make sure everything is removed from the pool. And you probably want to avoid using any non-pool toys like Hot Wheel cars or, the super soaker guns that may have screws that could rust in the pool. Definitely don't let the kids dive for batteries. I've had a customer where a battery exploded in the bottom and burned the bottom of the pool with the acid. And I'm like, what happened here? He goes, oh, the kids were diving for batteries and forgot to get them all out of the pool. So again, pool toys are good. Any diving toys that are pool related are fine. Any other household products or toys, probably not a good idea for the pool. And this last one is access to the equipment. And sometimes, the customer will stack, again, stuff by the equipment where you can't even get to the timer or filter. I had one customer where for some reason the gardener wasn't trimming anything near the equipment or inside the equipment area. And so it was like a jungle in the equipment area, a little area, and I couldn't even reach into the timer without moving a plant aside. So of course I told the customer, can you have the gardener please trim all the stuff in the equipment area, because I can't even access the equipment. You're cleaning a filter and then a vine blocks you from putting a lid back on, then you really know you have a problem with too much leaf, too much greenery in the equipment area. So make sure that's clear as well, and make sure you can access it without climbing over stuff. A lot of customers like storing stuff by the equipment, old bicycles and other junk, and I always make sure that I let them know it has to be clear so that I can clean the filter, access the equipment. So you have to have pretty good boundaries with the customers as far as that. Otherwise, they're going to just put junk everywhere, not clean up the dog waste, not give you access to the backyard. And it's really just simply letting the customer know that you need clear access to the yard, equipment, and that, you just have to communicate these things to the customer. They should understand, and usually no problem at all at that point. Looking for other podcasts, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, by clicking on the podcast icon on the banner. There'll be over 1,900 podcasts for you there. And if you're interested in the coaching program they offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.